I have a lot of people tell me that they struggle to make SATS sensory vivid. Usually they'll have one of the senses down, maybe two of them, but they won't have all five. So they're wondering, do I really need to have it completely sensory vivid? And do I need to have it done in first person? So I'm here to tell you that no, it does not have to be sensory vivid completely, all five senses, but there's a really good reason why Neville Goddard encouraged people to try to make their SATS as sensory vivid as possible. Hi, I'm Leanna. I've taught hundreds of people to manifest their goals. I love talking about the law, and I'm hoping that I can help you too. So let's get started. So no, SATS does not have to be sensory vivid. What matters is the feeling. I like to joke that Neville Goddard named one of his books, Feeling is the Secret, not Sensory Vividness is the Secret. But he still encouraged people to make their SATS as vivid as possible, because he wants you for that moment to feel like it's as real as possible. He really wants you to be immersed in that moment, to sort of like forget where you are currently in a 3D, your current circumstances, and really just slide into, like, ease into that feeling of what it would be like to really have your desire. When he says feeling, he said that he does not mean emotion. He means the conviction, the knowing that your desire is here and real. It means how you would feel if your desire were already yours. Like, you know it's yours the same way that you know your couch is yours, the same way that you know your mother is yours. No one can take that away from you, and no one can make you doubt, because you know it's yours. You were there when it happened. So you want to capture that conviction, that assured confidence that what you want, you already have. And when you imagine it as vividly as possible, for that moment, your imagination is constructing it and propelling it into reality. Essentially, by trying to imagine it with all five senses, for that moment, you're thinking from the perspective of having it. And this is also why he wanted people to imagine it from first person view. So like you're looking out of your own eyes as if you're having it, as opposed to third person view where you're just imagining a scene where you see yourself as if you're a third person enjoying your desire. When you imagine it from first person view, it makes it feel a lot more realistic. It makes it feel like it's yours. He has said, my imagination puts me in touch inwardly with that state. So it's about tapping into that state of having. It's about trying to experience what it would be like for your desire to be truly yours, as opposed to just like thinking about it, thinking about how you might have it one day, or thinking about how nice it would be. That's different from thinking like, yes, this is mine. For example, wealthy people don't sit around and think, oh boy, it sure would be nice to be rich one day. They don't think about money as something that they're chasing or something one day they'll have. Same with people who are married. They don't think, oh, one day my husband's going to love me. No, they know my husband loves me now. That's why he committed. They know that that money is in their bank now. Even if you were to tell them, oh, a bank statement came in today and it says that you're broke, they'd be like, what? No. Because they have that conviction that it's theirs. And that difference between the state of having it and just the state of like thinking about it, that difference is where Neville is trying to lead you beyond. He wants you to get into the state of having. And by looking at it from first person and having it as vivid as possible, you're more likely to think from having it. We manifest everything in our lives, everything. And you have blind, deaf people manifesting their lives completely fine. How is that possible? They're not able to imagine what something would sound like and what something would look like. Because it's not necessary. If you have that feeling, if you feel that conviction of having it, if you dwell on that expectation of it's definitely going to come, that would be a lot more impactful than just imagining something with all five senses, but from the state of not having it, or from the state of admiring it from afar. Now, imagination is key. In his work, Awakened Imagination, Neville Goddard said, to realize your desire, an action must start in your imagination, apart from the evidence of the senses, involving movement of self and implying fulfillment of your desire. The way I interpret this is, you need to move yourself from not having it to having it. Your desire has to start in your imagination, even without evidence of the senses, meaning even without seeing it in physical reality first. And you need to imply in your imagination that it's already yours. Now, if you're able to imagine this without sensory vividness, that's fine. If you can think about it as if you already have it, that's also fine. So if you don't want to visualize and you just want to like have the same kind of self-talk you would have if something was yours, that would work too. Because that implies that your desire is already fulfilled. So for example, if you're trying to manifest a car, for example, your dream car, and you know that if you got your dream car that you would be driving your friends and family all over, showing it off, or taking it to like certain places. If you were imagining like, oh, how am I gonna book my accommodations for this place? How am I gonna plan a road trip with my friends this weekend? How are we gonna find an Airbnb that'll be open and available on such short notice? Where will we go? It's gonna be rainy this weekend. What are we going to do? That is what you would think if you had your car now. So by thinking like that, you're already imagining how you would imagine if you had your desire. And you wouldn't even have to be, this could be eyes open. You wouldn't even have to be thinking, smelling, feeling, or hearing your car. That's still imagining as if you have it. So that's an example of how you don't need to have full sensory vividness. It doesn't even have to be first person either. Most people, when they imagine things, don't really imagine in first person, if at all. And so they're still able to manifest their lives completely. It's not like their lives are completely polished or empty. They're still able to have a good, fulfilled life. How is that possible if first person and sensory vividness were required? That's proof that it's not, but it does help. Remember, the end goal here is to get into the feeling of having. Feeling is the secret, not getting all 5 senses right is the secret. But then how do you bring up a feeling if the thing hasn't happened yet? You can remember similar events of accomplishment. So for example, if you're trying to manifest a car, you can ask yourself, what was some material desire that was really big and expensive that you wanted in the past that you got? Maybe it was your phone, maybe it was your laptop. How did you feel when you got that item? Or another example, if you're trying to manifest a job acceptance, how did you feel when you won a contest at school? Or how did you feel when you got your first college acceptance letter? Or if you're trying to conjure up the feeling of your SP liking you, you can imagine how it felt in the past when someone you thought attractive showed interest. Maybe you didn't like him as much as your SP, but it was still a similar type of feeling where someone you thought was attractive, or even just someone you didn't find attractive, was flirting with you and it's an ego boost, or someone told you they liked you. It's still that same feeling of being like desired, feeling beautiful, feeling loved. Or if you're trying to manifest something difficult passes like a deadline at work or like a project or a midterm, and you're asking yourself, how would I feel afterwards? Well, you probably feel joyful and relieved. When is a time in your life when you felt carefree? Probably childhood, the first day of summer vacation, maybe the first day of winter break, things like that. You can always draw from similar events in your life to get that similar feeling. So now you're combining the feeling of having it with your visualization or imagination of it. Other ways you can conjure up the feeling are putting on a specific playlist. I've got playlists for getting pumped. I've got playlists for being relaxed, for being happy, for being calm. You can also look at pictures that inspire you. I'm from New York City, so pictures of the New York City skyline always make me feel a certain way. It makes me feel limitless and safe. It makes me feel like I'm a child again in New York City with my parents protecting me. I know for a lot of other people, pictures of nature or like beautiful landscape scenery can inspire feelings like that. Sometimes for people, if they have a picture of like their car or their celebrity hero or the mansion that they really want, it can help them get into the mindset of the lifestyle that they want. Another question I get is, does SATS have to happen right before sleep? Do I have to fall asleep after SATS? Neville himself has said, no, you don't have to fall asleep after SATS, but you impress your subconscious a lot better when you're in that sleepy state. That is why he wanted SATS, which stands for state akin to sleep, to be done in a sleepy state. He has said you don't have to lie down, you can relax in a chair and get sleepy, do your SATS, and then get up and go on with your day. I find that the sleepy state is a double-edged sword. It is harder to stay awake and to stay focused when you're sleepy because sometimes, at least for me, my visualization starts to turn into a dream before I know it, I'm asleep, or 20 seconds later and I'm imagining myself on some epic adventure and I'm not even thinking about my desire anymore. Oops. But there's an advantage to that sleepy state, which is that your conscious mind is less likely to throw doubts at you when you're trying to imagine this. Your conscious mind is kind of like quieted down, where normally if you're trying to think about this in a fully awake state, you might conjure up feelings of imposter syndrome, or you might think of all the doubts, all the circumstances, how could this possibly happen, all your limiting beliefs about this, maybe deep-seated issues of self-worth come up. I don't deserve this, I failed in the past. But when you're in that sleepy state, a lot of this overthinking and like chatter in your mind is quieted down. So you're more able to focus on what you want and focus on feeling what it would feel like to have what you want. Basically, you have less resistance than your waking state, where your mind might be thinking, that's not realistic, or how could I possibly accomplish that with XYZ circumstances? And if you find your mind slipping and your visuals are like kind of blending in and turning into a dream, or you catch your mind wandering, that's okay. Just redirect your thoughts back to what you want. This is usually a good sign that you're in the hypnagogic state, which is a state right between waking and sleeping. It's when you start to like see and hear things and the dream is starting. It's that sleepy, but still kind of awake, kind of lucid state. In my experience, the more that you do this, the better you get at it. But I will say it helps a lot to decide exactly what scene you want to think about and exactly which desire you want to focus on, or desires, before you get sleepy. Because when you're in that sleepy state, it's gonna be really hard for you to like sit down and keep that presence of mind to figure out what scene you want to do and which desire you want to focus on. And if your attention strays, that's okay. Just gently guide your thoughts back to what you want to be visualizing. Even Neville says this is okay. In Awakened Imagination, Neville says, at first your thoughts may stray like rambling sheep that have no shepherd. Don't despair. Should your attention stray 70 times 7, bring it back 70 times 7 to its predetermined course until from sheer exhaustion it follows the appointed path. And again, it doesn't have to be a fully vivid imagination with all 5 senses. We manifest everything in our lives. But when is the last time that you sat there and really imagined with all 5 senses, having electricity, having access to the internet, having your phone or your laptop or whatever you're watching this on, having access to running water, having your friends and family? Like, when is the last time you've really sat there and really imagined having what you have in your life with completely vivid sight, totally clear sound, accurate smells, touch, and taste? Probably never. I'm betting you've never done it. And most of the 8 billion people in the world haven't done it. And yet they still have the lives that they have. They don't sit there imagining, I have all my arms and legs, I live in this neighborhood, I go to work at this place, or I go to school at this place, in all 5 senses from first person. And yet they still have everything that they have. Because remember, it's the feeling of the conviction that matters. And it's that intensity of imagination that immerses you in that feeling of having it. If you still struggle with visualizing, or you think you have aphantasia, which is the inability to visualize, then I made a video here on how you can do SATS without visualizing. Or you can watch my latest video here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.